Hello, everyone, and welcome back. It's 440 with Chris, Willie, and Trevor, part of the Nova Insider Network and brought to you by Home Field Apparel. Sorry, Willie, you're not paying attention to the private chat. I was like, who is doing the intro? Because I jumped on super late because it was questionable if I was going to join. And then Trevor goes, Willie was going to. And then I said, do it, Willie. And then you just like deadpan.
I was too busy producing because Brian's not here. And I saw the chat. I was like, I'll check that when we're done introing.
All good. All good. All right. Well, that was the most fun Villanova / Eagles fan has had in the last 36 hours.
Why would you bring that up?
It's actually been like 2 weeks since we felt the same exact way. If you go back to the St. John's game, the Eagles lost the game the next day to a worse team. So used to the feeling, unfortunately, but the Sixers are playing. So
I'm ready to be hurt again.
We have that to look forward to whenever we finish recording.
I haven't gotten in on the Sixers yet because I know I'm going to get hurt. And like a fool, I believed in the Eagles until they... It's just pain.
I saw talk about it.
I saw a meme. You ever see that meme of the house that has the deck that's way up high and this one like warped like wood thing that's holding up the entire deck? And it was like the deck was labeled Philadelphia fan sports mental state. And then the beam was Joel Embiid.
and honestly, more specifically, it's like Embiid's knee.
Yeah.
Like they take it a step further and it's probably just as wobbly as the picture shows. So hanging on by a thread here. But
luckily we have the Villanova Wildcats to bring us joy.
That's right. That's right. So coming to you after a DePaul win, which at home should be of no surprise, and then a Marquette loss that frankly just played out differently than every other game this whole season. So another game to learn nothing about the team.
It was weird.
But I guess where do you guys want to start? Do you want to start with Marquette? Do you want to start with DePaul? Do you want to start how do you guys want to do this?
I think we're going to start with DePaul just to get that out of the way before we can. We're going to go high, low, really low, and then we'll come back up on a high note before we preview UConn, I think. DePaul was a fun game.
Section 208.
Section 208. If you are unfamiliar, I was there sitting with my friends. Shout out Tommy for the ticket. And we were rewarded, noticed, recognized as the fan section of the game. Obviously the loudest, most caring fans out there. Section 208.
How did that change your life? Like, what's been different since then?
I got a hat, not this one. This is a pretty unique hat. But as it's kind of ironic that I say this because actually as we were leaving, they did the promo for it. It was the under 4 timeout, and we had ordered some food, and we were winning by 30, so it was time to go and pick it up in the rain. And as we were walking down the stairs, we just heard Section 208, and everybody around us started jumping up and down. I was like, oh, wow, I guess we won something. And then as we were walking out, somebody was standing there with a box of hats. So I got a nice winter hat. Again, not this one that I'm currently wearing, but it just feels good to be better than everybody else. Mm-hmm. Obviously, they had been looking at our section all game, and obviously I was there the entire game and not spending most of the second half hanging out with Brian on the concourse. So everything went as it should have and as it was expected to. Definitely not a shot at the student section, but we were just better. In all seriousness, like it was a fun game. Brendan Hausen.
Not again.
Yeah, man. Trevor's gone.
Trevor, get a better internet provider. Come on.
R.I.P. And he said Brendan Hausen was the last thing that he said. So Brendan Hausen was an electric factory in the first half of that game.
Yeah, what I mean, it finished with 5 3-pointers. Had another bucket, which we'll talk about a little bit later. One of his only 2-point buckets in his Villanova history. One of I think like maybe 5 or 6. I mean, we've known this, but like when he's hitting his shots, it's a completely different dimension to the team. I'm going to kick out this guy, and then I'm going to pull in the other one.
Yeah. It's just
Where'd you
What's
lose
up?
me?
you said Brendan Hausen, and then we jumped in to
Hausen,
say he
that's
was an
it.
electric factory.
Yeah, couldn't miss. Yeah, I think I spoke so highly of myself, my Wi-Fi had to humble me. Sorry about that. Hausen couldn't miss. It's hard to take anything away from the ball games, honestly.
Yeah.
Like they're so bad.
The one thing that you did see was that we started to make an emphasis on going inside with our offense. And not shooting the thing. We just talked about the Brendan Hausen threes, but that was really the only 3 balls that we were shooting. There was a couple others by Bamba, I think. But like but we made an actual emphasis to go inside out and got Deshaun Nelson, who torched us last year. We got him in foul trouble. He actually was having a pretty good game, and I don't know why Stubbs didn't manage his minutes at all, because he was like 4 fouls with like 16 minutes left in the game. Yeah.
He's a horrible coach.
Yeah. But then but anyway, we fouled him at the game was already in hand, like easily in hand by that point. But still, it was good to see the offense flow, and it seemed like the offense carried over into the Marquette game.
Yeah. One thing to call out, like, we attacked inside. A person that, like, honestly, a tale of two halves for this person, realistically. Tyler Burton, like, first half, he was chucking threes, and he went 0 for 5 from 3. And then in the second half, like, and we talked about this in one of our group texts, like, Burton did what he should be doing. Like, I think there's room for him to develop in other world spaces, yada, yada, yada. But, like, what he should be doing for this team is attacking the boards, cutting, being in the dunker spot, like, playing not as much on the perimeter. And like, honestly, like, I would like to just inverse it, where like it's Eric on the perimeter and it's Tyler like playing in the dunker spot, playing down low. And then if there's a possession that like we want to get Eric the ball in the post, then we just switch it and like let Tyler be out there. Like, he's fine on the perimeter, but it's clearly not where he's supposed to be. Him cutting to the basket, him just moving off the ball, which like we already know, like sometimes our offense, like, we're not moving off the ball that much. It's a lot of swinging and cut packs, just swinging around. We're not even cutting because we're not really penetrating that much, with the exception of a person we're going to talk about a little bit today, Mark Armstrong, who's like, I think, starting to figure things out. But all in all, Burton played really well in the second half. I mean, he finished with 14, 10, and 4, like even assists. And like, I think that we saw, and including the Marquette game, maybe the offense is actually figuring some things out.
I'd like to see Burton. Like, I'm fine with him shooting some threes, because if you got an open 3, like, you take it. But like, it's almost like in football, you establish the run to free up the passing game. Like for Burton in this Villanova offense, like, he's got to establish his cutting and his driving and his dunking and his 2-point finishing to establish his 3-point shooting.
Yeah.
I'm laughing at the 2-point finishing, because I think Burton gets blocked like 5 times a game.
It's crazy.
But
every block is like the worst block of all time.
He goes for it. Like, I give him credit for going for it, but it reminds me of when Bridges tried to dunk on Konate. The West Virginia game, like every time.
I even feel like it with Burton, though, it's like he would be finished. I feel like he gets into the blocks. Like, he adjusts too much and then gets blocked. I'm like, you should have just gone up strong, and you don't. And then that's why you got blocked.
Which, on his first layup, I think, against Marquette, he actually did, like, he reversed the basketball and used the rim to protect him. I'm like, oh my God, he read the tweets.
He knows how to do it.
But I'm like sitting here trying not to laugh at us saying like, oh yeah, put him in the dunker spot. Like, the guy that gets blocked the most on our team. Yeah, put him in the dunker spot. But
I stand by it.
Yeah, no, I think he's great as a slasher.
Yeah.
And he should be working to do that more. Not necessarily from the dunker. Like, it's fine, have him on the wing.
Yeah.
Whatever. But I agree. I think generally he had one of his better games since UCLA, after he was actively trying to draw contact. He does get fouled a lot, which is also good.
I mean, I don't know these numbers off the top of my head. I'd imagine the two highest foul rates on the team, I mean, outside of Eric, are probably Burton and Bamba, because they are the ones who attack the rim the
Yep.
most. Justin, I mean, his numbers are going to be all
Hart,
flawed.
yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, DePaul's good. Not much to take about it. I'm glad we blew him out. Like 2 blowouts is cool. The game 94-69 is kind of closer than the game really was, even at points. So like, I'm good with that. Anytime you get Colin O'Toole minutes, we're good. We're good to roll.
Agreed. Feels good to score like 90 plus points in a pavilion game too. Like,
Yeah.
this team has been pretty bad in the pavilion, and so nice to actually see the team get it going in that building.
Yeah.
We're going to need it in a couple weeks. Marquette game.
Marquette.
Yeah.
Just the opposite of how we played.
It's so interesting. It's the exact opposite of every game. I feel like we've played with force defensively. We've been into people. We've made our presence be known every single game. And we didn't do that versus Marquette from the beginning. I give a lot of credit to Marquette. They were able to scheme. They moved without the ball so well. They back cut. They set back screens. The fact that like Iguodaro got like almost 3 lobs in a row to begin the game, it makes your life is a lot easier when you're the best point guard in the country. Like there's sure, but like
Allegedly,
the best reading point guard in the country. Who's to say? Sorry,
the most. He's going to go to this new Dwayne Wade literacy program.
And it's kind of a funny joke because, Willie, I think you spelled Traunch wrong in your episode title.
I didn't name these.
Oh, Brian did.
Brian
Brian definitely spelled Traunch wrong.
Well, yeah, okay. Title. Well, Brian always spells everything wrong.
Yeah. That shows how much Brian respects us.
Yeah.
But yeah, when is has this team ever on paper, like since stats have been recorded, given up 60 points in the paint?
No.
That's like a fake nut. That's a video game.
Yeah. It was outrageous. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. We had like literally a top 20 Ken Pom defense.
We felt good in the beginning of the game, and then you look at the shooting, you're like, oh wait, we're shooting like 70%, 60% from 3, and we're still only up 2, or we're down 2. And then you look at, oh, they've shot like 3 threes. Like, we are in trouble.
Yeah.
The game scoring that high, like that was never a recipe for our success. We always want to try to keep this team especially thrives when we're keeping teams in the 60s, maybe into the 70s a little bit, and we just get in trouble when we're on pace for a higher scoring game, unless it's a Maryland DePaul.
We've only won one game when we allow a team to score more than 70 points.
That was UNC, right?
UNC, yep.
And that was overtime. Like it's just
which I believe in regulation they were actually under 70.
Yeah. So that was a mess. We kept Shaka on the sideline at least. I was looking for that.
I mean, it gets back to the thing I mentioned earlier of like a couple of pods ago of like when I'm watching a game, I look for like where's the regression to the mean? Like, are we overshooting? Are we undershooting? We were overshooting that game. Like we were shooting 55%. And like, yeah, you could say like Marquette was shooting 70%, but like once again, they were shooting 70% on walking to the rim layups. Cam Jones had like wide open like layups, and I love Cam Jones. He's such a good player. But like had wide open layups so many times. Iguodaro had like just open layups. Iguodaro had like 18-11 or 18-9 and 6 or something like that. Like it was just like
they had 2 guys approaching triple-double territory. Yeah. Like it's just
at one point in the game, it got to 57-57, and then Marquette decided that they were going to put the clamps down defensively, and they were going to keep doing it, and they just blew us out for the rest of the game.
To which our response to put the clamps down defensively was keep shooting and hope. And I was just like, we weren't adjusting. Like we were missing some shots, and I get it. We hit 2 straight threes to make it 57-57. But then like we were missing, and we just like did not adjust. I don't know. It was frustrating, and it was just frustrating because like defense is supposed to travel, and it didn't. Like we left our defense in the hotel in Milwaukee.
The I don't. The worst part is I don't even know if they actually put the clamps on or if it was just the time for our offense to just forget how to do anything. And yeah, the answer was like, screw it, I'm gonna shoot it. And it was just it was painful. What like I can't believe they were allowed to do that to those rims, for that like 6 minute stretch.
The whole thing was crazy. I mean, look, I'm curious to get your guys' thoughts. I put on Twitter on my own personal account. I was like, this to me felt like a player's loss. Like, look, I'm not absolving Neptune here or the coaching staff because, like, again, we got 57-57 and immediately took, like, I forget exactly who, but I was like, immediately took, like, Dixon out and put Ware in. And this was, I don't hate Lance Ware at all. I'm fine with Lance Ware, but like it just wasn't the game for him. This wasn't the game for Lance Ware. Like he
We
just was
missed
getting
Njoku.
annihilated in this game, and so it wasn't the game for him. We immediately take Dixon out, put Ware in, and then it's all of a sudden it's 67-57 again, and it's like so like I just said it's a player's loss, but like the rotation again. Some of those decisions like really make an impact. Like this team is constantly asked to dig out of holes. And when they do, then we just switch it back and get into another hole. And it's like, come on, like you ride your hot hand. That's like a known thing in coaching. Like it's very easy to do. At the same time, from like a game scheme adjustments perspective, I just find it impossible that we didn't make adjustments and that we didn't have a game plan to handle what Marquette was going to throw at us. I just refuse to believe that something as obvious as what was going on wasn't game planned for or whatever. And if you read the players' tweets on Twitter, like the Gillespies, the Ochefus, even A-Ray's tweets on Twitter, like they were all kind of like, and this happened a couple times this year, kind of dogging the guys a little bit, like kind of dogging the players a little bit, like what are we doing out there, right? Like you guys got to like, what is this defense, right? Like, and I don't feel like it's a coach schematic issue. I felt like it was just like the guys were just not reading anything, not picking it up. Like it seemed like they just wanted to get into a shootout with them.
They had never seen a pick and roll before. I think this was I think we missed Longino and Njoku more than I thought we would going into this. Just that extra layer of kind of perimeter defense and somebody that Longino can switch onto the bigs and hold his own a little bit better than Mark and Brendan can. I thought Njoku might have been a little better equipped just to bang with those guys down low than Ware was. Ware has the unfortunate like streak of getting switched onto guys who aren't necessarily hot or shooting well and then just getting threes drained in his face constantly, going back to Kansas State. But it was just
kind of tells you
it's
on him.
Yeah. And it was just I can't get 60 points.
Yeah, the defense just lacked pride. This is what I'm just getting back to. The players just like they were told to play a certain way. There's no way that we didn't say slow the game down, play our pace, whatever. Like every time out that they flashed to Neptune, instructing the guys in the huddle, he was like, guys, it's great we're shooting, but like we got to make these reads. Like they're running simple pick and rolls, like get into position, and it just wasn't happening on the court. And he was switching, and so like I don't necessarily I blame him for some of the lineup switching, but I don't blame him for all the lineup switching because he was just trying to find anybody who was willing to play any semblance of fucking defense out there.
Yeah, and that's what I think I was hoping this would be the game that we finally see like Neptune get a technical for technical sake. He was jumping up and down on the sideline, yelling at his guys as he should have been. I didn't think there was anything with the refs like too much in this game that I was like, oh, this is egregious or anything. But like, you gotta I don't know what he's supposed to do if he can't get them to care. Like, who's supposed that's a team leadership thing from the players that like you have to have a sense of pride in your defense here. I know Justin still isn't 100% back. He didn't have a great DePaul game. He was shooting a little bit better against Marquette, but the perimeter was like the perimeter defense wasn't adequate enough. Like sometimes just like getting lost on switches. Obviously, nobody could stop their bigs. Kolek was just going to dissect whatever coverage he got, it seemed, and then he even started making shots. Like it's tough to watch.
I mean, that was walk-through basketball. Like at the end of the day, that's what it was. Like,
it was a layup line.
It was literally a layup line. It was okay. We're good. We're good offensively right now. They're good offensively. Let's just go and score. Like there was no force. There were like we talked about there being no like ref issues because I don't know how many fouls were called. Like Marquette shot 8 free throws. We shot 14. Like there weren't that many fouls called because like in the first half of the game, like it was just we were hitting jumpers. Game, yeah. Marquette was just getting to the rim. Like there was no force either way, and it felt like one of those games where a la like what 2018 would do at times, where it's just like we're just going to outscore you, but like Marquette's better than us. Like we can't just outscore Marquette. You have to stop them on the other end. Like 2018 had had 6 NBA players and Phil Booth on it. Like that's like of course they could outscore.
And this Marquette team isn't some like offensive juggernaut that shoots ridiculous percentages from 3 and everything like that. And they didn't even have to be. It was just like, oh yeah, we have layup lines today.
Yeah.
And Shaka Smart's huddles that were mic'd up, he was like, they're getting really confused. They don't know what to do about it. Like we didn't. It was a pick and roll.
He's like, they're really confused at this.
Yeah.
So keep doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. He told the one guy, he was like, yeah, you can shoot if you're like open, but just do this thing because they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. And
that was harsh.
Predictable bounce back game for Kolek. I think he had 21 and 11 or something like that. 5 rebounds. Yeah. Like
light work.
Dwayne Wade getting there for his, I think he got his jersey. What did he get his jersey retired from the Heat the day before, a couple of days before they announced he was getting a statue.
Yeah.
And then he was at the Marquette game. He donated a whole bunch of money for the basketball facility. I think they're going to name the practice facility after him. And then the icing on the cake was a lot of it went to a Marquette literacy program or something like that, which Kolek must have saw that and bounced back from his struggles.
The Tyler Kolek literacy program for the youth.
Yeah. But yeah, it was just like unfortunate. Like we talked about it last week. Where like this is a scheduled beatdown that's forthcoming. Like everybody's struggling. They just lost. Was it Jones?
Yeah.
To an ACL. They lose that game to Butler. It's kind of like, okay, let's refocus. And then they just ran layup lines on us for 40 minutes.
The second they lost to Butler, I was like, yeah, this is probably now. Like they're not dropping 3 in a row.
No.
But on a positive note with this, like, and just on a positive note for the last like 3-4 games, I think like Mark has turned a corner.
Yes.
Like I don't even think like he had 20. He was hitting 3-pointers, which maybe that was a level of being hot, but just like even in his aggression and confidence, like he's felt like this is what we're getting from him. He's still not like the elite like floor general that maybe we'd want, but like that's probably never going to be him. But like if he's a walking paint touch, that changes so much for our offense. We struggle to get paint touches that are not back downs. Like that's just what it is. Like if we're not backing down in the post, like we struggle to get paint touches. Mark is an automatic, like I will just beat you and get into the lane. And where he needs to continue to improve is either finishing at the rim, which he's been better the last couple of week games, or setting up other people and getting them for shots from the perimeter. Then, you get into the whole drive, kick, whatever. But it's just been Mark was, I mean, there was a point I think Mark scored like 10 straight points for us where it was just like, oh, okay, he's here. This was really good to see. I'm hoping this momentum continues. This is where like with Mark playing like to even like 75% of this level, Jordan back and Justin and getting back and just like the full team. This is where you're like, we're super talented. We just have to become consistent And I mean, we're just inconsistent, which is why, as I've said all season in our text, I don't think I've said on the podcast, we're the most 8 seed team to ever 8 seed. Because like I'm going to say this right now, we're going to beat UConn. I'm fine with that. I'm just putting it out, and we are going to beat UConn at home. I'm so confident in it. And when we're wrong, we can clip this and do whatever. But we're going to beat UConn because we're the most
writing
8 seed.
The timestamp down now.
Yeah, the most 8 seed team to ever 8 seed, and it's just like it makes sense at home in our first real Wells Fargo game. Like, yeah, this is just going to happen. So
yeah. So since the mark point, since the Zager game where he was inexplicably not playing when we desperately needed someone to bring the ball up in the last 5 minutes, he's had 3 career high scoring outputs in a row. I think. I think they said that on the broadcast.
Yeah.
He has scored more in the last game than he did before and before that and so on. I don't know if 13 was if 12 or 13 was his previous career high, but he had 24 against Marquette. And I think 15 against DePaul, 14 against St. John's. We're seeing him figure it out. I know he had a couple of airball threes that were probably ill-advised shots, but he made his first 3, I want to say. Like his first 3 attempts in the game. It kind of opened things up for him. Guys were closing out a little bit harder, and that's like, I'm getting to the paint now. He's so fast. I thought he could have he almost snatched a pair of ankles on but then he like pulled the ball back out in the second half. That I was really hoping that guy was going to end up on the floor, but he kind of just like skidded away.
Yeah.
But he's been playing great. He's been playing more minutes. I think that's very important for this team going forward this year and for our chances next year too.
I mean, yeah, that's the Mark who, if like everyone, like if we ever think he's going to play at the next level, this is the level he needs to be at.
Yeah.
And like, obviously shooting is the key to that.
There's only 2 other guys who I've seen in a Villanova uniform, and it's really one that I've seen in this latest era of Villanova basketball, or since 2000, I guess I'll say, who could be a walking paint touch with his speed and just his ability to get to the spot that he wants to get to because he's just more athletic than anybody else at that point guard position. Kyle Lowry and Malik Waynes were both the 2 guys who could blur to a spot like Armstrong can. And candidly, Waynes, just because of the way that his whole career went at Villanova, which I'm glad that we've kind of resurrected all of that and kind of made that good with time. But it wasn't as much him. It was really Kyle Lowry, even though it was only 2 years. Like Kyle Lowry just got to his spot. Like Kyle Lowry couldn't shoot the ball. He was like the worst 3-point shooter. Like there was open threes where the crowd was yelling at him, "No, do not shoot that ball." But like it didn't matter that the defense could sag, and it didn't matter. He could still get to the paint.
Yep.
And Armstrong is kind of that guy. And if Armstrong can have if he could get 1 or 2 threes a game just for like keeping the defense honest, he does not need to be a 3-point shooter.
Yeah.
But if he gets 1 or 2 just to keep the defense honest, so that defense has to take 1 half step forward, then he's at the bucket.
Yep.
So like, and that's or
at least forcing the rotation and getting an open
right.
teammate. Yeah.
Right. And he's gotten a little bit better with the finishing over.
Just a little bit better.
Yeah. Over the course of the season, he's contorted his body a little bit. He's gotten a little bit better feel for that.
He's so athletic. Like I'm not even worried about that for him. I know it'll come. If not, he can just do like the Brandon Slater. Like I'm just going to try to dunk it every time, and he'll get fouled a ton. He's a good free throw shooter. So I'm not super worried about that. But yeah, hats off to Mark. He's been solid the last few games.
Which I think overall, if we're thinking about Mark, like that's probably our alpha dog for the last stretch of games. Yeah. It's Mark. Shout out to Mark. I think this is his first alpha dog. I don't remember.
This season, definitely. I
don't know if he had one last year.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Did he go bananas against BC last year?
Cam did. Mark's best games last year were against Georgetown. If I remember,
we probably gave him one versus the Georgetown ones.
Yeah. I would say honorable mention Brennan Hausen in his shooting. He had some bombs against Marquette. He also got blocked a couple times, but and then DePaul too. He was the only one that was really hitting threes. But so I would say our backcourt of the present and future is stepping up these last couple games.
And then if we're talking about like just Shaq Fit man play, like there's nothing really to talk about in Marquette. DePaul, we had like the back-to-back dunks. Mark gets a fast break, jumps 45 inches in the air, elevates and dunks it. And then we get DePaul has a miss. I believe Ware got the rebound, outlets it to Hausen. And this is the man fit play because I was like, is Hausen about to dunk this bitch?
He was.
He goes up, and I was like, oh, he's not going to make it. And then like squeezes the ball through. And I was like, oh, this must feel so good for him. One of his only like 2-point shots ever made for us. So Shaq Fit man play, Brendan Hausen, it's you. Congrats on the dunk.
Yeah.
There was a second I was like, is he gonna like windmill this? Like I was like, is he gonna just surprise us with a level of
Mark does like that's Mark's signature dunk. It's like the LeBron like Statue of Liberty kind of type that that's like Mark's go-to on a breakaway and Hausen getting up was fun. Good for him. He also had those bombs against Marquette that were also fun, but it's more fun to talk about plays that occurred in a win. So
Hausen's that guy who, though, like, man, with his 3-point shooting, like, he is the guy who, like, is the guys who, like, Armstrong did it in this game. Like, oh, he's taking a heat check shot. Hausen's the guy who
doesn't have a heat check. Yeah,
he hits the heat check.
Heat check is his warm up. Honestly, he is in the range gym in the gym range. Yeah, that's what I meant to say.
So I don't know if you remember. I'm thinking about Hausen because like so many of his shots are just 3-pointers. If you remember, thinking about players that were doing that, do you remember the guy he was at Oakland, Max Hooper?
Yes.
Max Hooper. I'm looking right now to see. Yeah,
did
Max
he attempt
Hooper,
a 2-point shot his entire career?
He did. He attempted 11 2-point shots of 490 shots. Like that's what Hausen feels like. Like I'm looking
that's
right
honestly his trajectory, though.
Yeah.
Like, and that's fine. It's perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, Max Hooper had 202 threes made, 208 field goals.
Like, oh my gosh.
It's Hausen's past that. I think he's made more than 6. Actually, I'm going to check that. Has Hausen made more than 6? What do you think?
I think 95% of his. I don't know the number, but I would say like 95% of his attempts have been threes.
Yeah, I would say that's probably accurate.
Maybe higher. Hausen, you could tell me that it's like 98.
I'll give you the percentage right now. Give me a second. I'm just going to do this quick math. That it's under 91%.
All right, he doesn't have enough attempts yet. That's why.
That's really what it is. He's made 61 threes and he's taken 67 or made 67 shots.
Yeah, so that'll turn into 95 out of 100.
Yeah, pretty soon.
But continuing awards, pass the ball. I have one specific play and then a candidate in general. Unfortunately, I try not to single out individual guys just because like I don't love doing that. But in the DePaul game, there's a clip of Hakeem Hart is on a switch and his man catches the ball on the block and he's standing up straight up and Lance Ware crashes in and just shoves him out of the and then tees up and then fouled the guy. But there's a fantastic clip going around that's like apparently Lance Ware thinks he's the only one that can defend the paint and then just shoving Hart out of who. I mean, he probably has a longer standing reach than Hakeem Hart does, but like it's not that much of a difference.
Yeah,
like,
it wasn't like it was build. Brendan under the
kind of the same build. And honestly, like Hakeem Hart might be tougher to move at times, but like it was just the funniest thing. He just shoves him out of the way, and then eventually fouled the DePaul player on the attempt, and then unfortunately for just how the defense worked out for him against Marquette. I'm just continuing. I'll give it to that specific play, but in general, I say Lance Ware, you got to pass the ball to everybody.
It's not a play award. It's an award to a player or
But that specifically in mind, I'll give to him because I think 60 points in the paint is a team is a team goof.
That's
Just,
definitely
you know,
a team,
it obviously you think of the big men when that happens, but like they're the ones getting caught on the switches. But yeah,
I have a second one.
yeah, go for it.
Marquette game, end of the first half. Justin Moore's 3-pointer. What was that, man?
That is, Chris. What are you talking about? That's the play when we have the ball under 10 seconds.
That was not the play. That's another thing. Is like people were like, I can't believe Neptune. That's what he fucking drew up, and I was like, there's no fucking way that's what he drew up.
Obviously, he
There's
didn't
no
draw
chance.
that up, but that's like the equivalent of like
back
the
to
Eric
Dixon.
Dixon game winner attempts from last season. That it's like, I don't know, Eric, you're gonna have to hit a step back, but like Justin was like, it's Justin Moore time, and
That's exactly what happened.
Got his 3 blocked, leading to the transition Kolek finish.
Outrageous. That whole play was crazy.
Abomination.
Like, here's the thing. Like, I don't even like being in a position to defend Neptune in these circumstances. It's just like people immediately, anytime anything goes wrong,
out of his control.
Yeah. Because because what happens is like bad play confirms the people's priors, which is fair. And guess what? If this continues, if we look like we played against Marquette and St. John's for the rest of the season, we're not going to make the tournament. And as we've talked about, we're going to call for the head, right? Like at some point in time, like if you can't motivate your team, right, it's the coach's fault. But in certain individual plays,
are you listening, Nick Sirianni?
Yeah.
Are you listening?
In certain individual plays, it's like people are just like, I can't believe it's what Neptune came up with, and I was like, he didn't. That's just like I don't even want to be in a position to defend it, but I'm
tired of pointing it out though. Until like I just let those people exist in their like if you're gonna take the time to tweet that and be like, you know, have that reaction, like I can't fix you. I'm sorry.
Yeah. The problem is the pattern, right?
Yeah.
So like the response is like, well, I get that it was more in that time, but it's also been this other thing in this other time. And so it all comes back to the coach. And I was like, well, I get that. The fish does stink from the head. That's how the saying goes. But at the same point in time, like if you can't expect Justin Moore to make the right read and right play in that moment of the game, then that's not like Jay would never have told what to do in that position. Like it's Justin Moore. You put the ball in his hands and you trust him to make the right read. He made the wrong read.
Yeah, made the wrong read. All right, let's get to an ad read, which I'm going to press it. We're going to see what happens here, but ad read time.
Today's episode of the Full 40 is brought to you by Home Field Apparel. Home Field produces some of the best quality vintage collegiate apparel on the market. You won't find better game day gear anywhere else. Home Field has the ultimate collection of old school logos and looks with the best quality around. Shop t-shirts, crew necks, hoodies, bomber jackets, and more at homefieldapparel.com. Don't forget to use code NOVAINSIDER for 15% off your first purchase. That's code NOVAINSIDER at homefieldapparel.com.
All right, we're back. We're doing a UConn preview, or what's
we're talking UConn. The preview
UConn.
We're winning by 8.
The number 1 ranked University of Connecticut Huskies.
For the first time since 2009, which was weird, but I guess like every year, with the exception of last year, the year that they've won, like it's been a miracle run or miracle. Like it's just been like a surprise.
They've gone on a heater. Yeah. It hasn't been like a great regular season team. It's just like we have these future pros that are going to carry us, which is how college basketball works.
That 2009 team that UConn had was pretty damn good.
Yeah.
They were excellent, but that was a UNC Destiny year. But
that team was
that was a ref job. That was a Villanova Destiny team year. But the
was UConn the other one in that Final Four? Am I tripping?
Yes,
it was okay. So it was Michigan State them.
It was Michigan State beat them, and UNC beat us. But that was a good year. That was also a banner year for the Big East Conference because Louisville got beat by Michigan State down the stretch in that Elite Eight game too. So it was almost 3 Big East teams in that Final Four.
We'll have that this year. I'm just going to manifest that. It's not going to be UConn. It's going to be St. John's, us, and Seton Hall in the Final Four.
All of Chris's favorite teams.
I love that. I love that for us.
But yeah, I mean,
Chris
UConn.
Seton Hall when he said us, just so everybody knows. We got UConn coming. Okay,
And
Willie.
Donovan Klingen is playing.
Yeah, so Klingen's
Yeah.
back. What's his face is a walking triple double, it seems.
Yeah.
How do we pull out your manifestation of the victory here?
Yeah. So it's going to take well, first off, like let's just run through so anyone unfamiliar, it's the same UConn team, but not. It's a little bit different. Klingen's now back. He was injured. He's been playing. Klingen is going to be a top 15 pick in the draft. Incredible center, good in drop coverage, yada, yada, yada. Where I think the changes that this UConn team has really had is one, Cam Spencer has just been incredibly efficient for them. He is a 6'4" guard, does a little bit of everything. And it's just kind of honestly, when I think about this team, I'm like, all right, Cam Spencer's from a college standpoint, the guy that I'm like, all right, this is, if we can slow him down, it's a huge part. But then you start with Alex Caravan, who is also on draft radars and is a great wing, can shoot the lights out of the ball, all this. So Alex Caravan, remember, UConn fans were upset he didn't win Big East Freshman of the Year because Cam won, which once again, Cam deserved to win. Alex Caravan is also going to be a hell of a college player if he decides to stay, but he's already on draft boards. Tristan Newton has incredibly improved, is, for my money, the second best point guard in the Big East. I'm still not going to pass Kolek, but Newton, who I think there were times people were last year, is he even a point guard? Has it's just their metronome is I think has maybe a 2.5 to 1 assist turnover ratio off the top of my head, something along those lines, and just lives at the free throw line. I think that's a big thing that we have to figure out is how to stop Newton from living at the free throw line. Tristan Newton's made 80 free throws already. That's he's at the free throw line. He's taken 100 of them. And then UConn has, who I think is the person that's going to be a big X factor for them just down the stretch, is Stephon Castle, who is, for my money, he's going to be a top 5 draft pick, just in everything I've watched. I mean, he's a big guard. He's also will probably play some point guard in the NBA. But good size. He can't really shoot it yet, but does everything else. A strong defender. And then there's the backup Samson Johnson, and then Hassan Diarra, who are just good role players. So how do we make this happen? I think it's going to take a couple of things. One, we need to, and this is I'm asking stuff that we do not do or have not done super well, but it's going to take Eric Dixon going off on Klingen. This is one of those things where Klingen is very good in drop coverage, and also is actually pretty good in space, guarding people in space for his size. That's why he's interesting at the NBA level. He can drop, but he also has just the ability to guard in space. It's going to take Eric Dixon spreading the floor and spraying it from 3. I believe we can do that because every time he faces a big that he needs to step up on, every time he faces not a traditional big, he seems to kind of kill him. Iguodala gives him issues.
The game dicks.
Yeah. Iguodala gives him issues, but Iguodala was just a kind of a fun moving center who just also weirdly point guards at times. Soriano is a little bit different. Soriano's a little bit more of the back to the basket, but Soriano just gets in trouble, whatever. I think it's going to start with Eric kind of exploiting Klingen, and then the next thing comes from and this is where it's really come for me, is Mark Armstrong getting into the drop coverage and then hitting mid-range jumpers. This is a game where I think Mark is going to have to score 15 to 16. And the reason I'm calling this out is, and just to nerd out for a second here, when we're talking about drop coverage, essentially what happens is in a pick and roll, there's multiple ways that you can cover it, but you can either come up and show yourself, you can switch it, which is typically what we tend to do, or the center can drop back and essentially give you space and prevent you from going to the rim, allowing you to take mid-range jumpers. Mark, and then honestly, if we get Jordan back, both of them love to take the mid-range jumper in that 10 to 16 foot rate area. That's a place that if you're able to push Klingen in a little bit more, or you push Klingen in and then take those jumpers, you can kind of we're taking a shot that even though it's not the best shot statistically, it's something that they're comfortable with. And I want my players taking shots that they're comfortable with. So if we're able to get to places that we're comfortable with, I think we can do that there. And then the other thing is, 1, we got embarrassed, so we have to step up. 2, it's at home. And then 3, I think we match up well with them defensively. Like, I think our length is good enough. I think we can by putting more on Spencer, we can put Hart and Burton on Caravan. We can put whoever on Newton. Klingon, obviously, we can't bang with Klingon in the paint. He's going to get his in the paint. But if we're able to, like, I would honestly do what we used to do in like the 2016, 2017, 2018, where it's like ball pressure to prevent you from getting the ball in. Like, obviously Klingon's 7-2, so you can just throw it up. But the harder we make it in for make it for like Newton and Castle to get the ball in, the better it's going to be for us. I think those are the ways that we do it. I would want to see realistically Nana play more here, because Nana plays with more force and I think can get Klingon in foul trouble. And then the thing we got to do is, like, you got to test Klingon's foot. Like, you got to test Klingon's foot. But I also have a take that's weird. I don't want to play Klingon off the floor, because I think UConn will beat it. It's better match to beat us with Samson Johnson playing the 5, or just them going small and like putting Caravan at the 5, which they've done at times. Then it would be if Klingon stays out there. So, like, I'm curious. It's like winning the Klingon minutes and like taking advantage of what they give us there, which that's a big part of this. We need to take advantage of what they give us to be able to pull this off. That's essentially what I think it is. I think it being at home is going to be huge. I think we're going to have good energy. It's UConn. It'll probably still be snow on the ground. Like, it'll be a great tailgate atmosphere. Like, it's going to be a chance to like really make a statement. And I do feel that this team plays up to the moment a lot, or up to can get ready for the moment, like what we saw in the Bahamas, us being ready on the road at Creighton, even though we have to come back. Like, we're at home. This is a chance to like get a resume stamping win with number one team at home. Like, I'm gonna say we're gonna do it.
I was genuinely happy when I saw that UConn got the number 1 ranking.
Yeah.
Like, if they got number 2, I was like, fuck. I was gonna be like, fuck. Like, they're gonna come out with that much more of a chip on their shoulder coming into the game. With the number 1 ranking next to their name, I feel a little bit better. Mostly because there's no harm in really losing to the number 1 team in the country. Yeah. But the reality is that it takes some of that chip off. Now, that being said, Willie, I agree with you from the perspective of everything up to the Marquette game that we've seen from this team defensively has indicated that this team should be able to match up and has better length than Villanova teams have had in the past playing Connecticut.
I am pretending the Marquette game was just an aberration.
Yes. Yeah. If it's not an aberration, Marquette ran somewhat complex but pretty simple shit at us, and we couldn't read it to save our fucking life. Hurley's offense is arguably the most complex in D1. The movement that they do, all the plays that they run, it's like 100-page playbook that they have. They run complex shit constantly to get different guys open, and part of their offense is predicated on they shoot the 3 ball really well. I mean, like, you see UConn and you're like, big UConn, right? Like, they've always seemed to have that one big guy, whether it's Sonogo or Klingon, or going way back in the day to some of the guys that they had back in the day. I'm drawing blanks on names.
Okafor.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Okafor.
Hilton Armstrong.
Yeah, Hilton Armstrong. There was the other guy that they had back. It was a 7-footer. What is it?
Thabit.
Hashim Thabit. Yeah, that was who I was thinking of. You always think like big, strong UConn, right? Like, but this team is a 3-point shooting team.
Guards, their shooters are so good.
They're so good. They're shooting 40%, 39.6%, I think I saw, from deep. 40. So like, they're number 1 in conference in 3-point shooting. They're one of the top teams in the country at 3-point shooting. Cam Spencer, who Willie you brought up before, is shooting 47% from 3-point land. Alex Caravan, who's 6'8", is shooting 41% and change from 3. And the smart thing about how UConn plays is that they run most of their 3-point shooting off of those 2 guys, right? Tristan Newton takes a bunch, mostly when he's open. He's been a little bit slump of late, but still he can knock them down from anywhere. And so, and they run most of their 3-point shooting through those handful of guys. Hassan Diarra will come in and shoot a couple threes. Solo Ball was brought in as a recruit to be a little bit more of a shooter than he has been. He's taken 53 attempts and he's only shooting 28%, so he's not shooting all that well, but I think he will be a better shooter than that ultimately. But this team is absolutely fucking loaded top to bottom. Klingon plays or not, right? But they need to what we need to do. The one thing that's good is that they don't play a super up tempo. Like last year's team definitely exploited their athleticism better and got up in transition a lot more. They weren't the fastest team in the world last year, but they could play very fast. This team doesn't do that as much, but that's more of a personnel adjustment. Without Jackson and Hawkins, who were on the team last year. But that all being said, right, like this is an uphill battle for sure. Like Willie, I totally feel what you're saying in terms of, hey,
I have to go irrational confidence. That's just what I'm going for right now.
Yeah,
so.
No, I like fuck it, we ball, right? Like,
yeah, fuck it, we ball.
Fuck it, we ball. But it's one of those games where I do agree with you that, like, hey, Newton is maybe has a little bit of an off game. We find ways to smother Spencer a little bit, or it's a matter of let him get his and beat everybody else. However you play that angle. The problem, of course, is then Caravan. But like, I feel like we have the length with Hakeem Hart to guard Caravan. And like Bamba is a good defensive guard, and he's stronger than everybody on their team. So like he should be able to do pretty good work there. So like the length is there. Dixon can have a big game. I do agree with you. I'm struggling to predict a win here only because that Marquette loss is really sour is sour.
Yeah.
I'm going to side with Willie here just because I think I've established I can't pick against us yet. I can't on paper or on podcast medium pick against us. My thoughts in the group chat are private and will remain so. But I think part of the key here will be the health of Longino and Njoku. Njoku sitting against Marquette was kind of a surprise, I think, to most of us. I think the official word was left knee soreness. And then Longino's been in a walking boot since the St. John's game when he rolled his ankle. So obviously we won't know anything about either of them until the morning of the game or the afternoon of the game. But I think if Njoku can play, like Willie said, it'll kind of be key. He's obviously bigger than Dixon and Lance Ware, and just to have another body that can have 5 fouls worth to give if he has to, and like we've seen him in big moments, he's come up with big blocks and big possessions for us. Hurley is on a rampage this season about the refs, so having them in our back pocket will be a big help to us as everybody is against UConn and nothing's fair to Hurley. So that's another key to the game for me. Yeah, it's just it's not fair. Why do they call fouls on my team? Yeah, so it depends on what team shows up for me, obviously, but I would obviously prefer to see the team that beat UConn show up than the team that just played Marquette. But I think kind of how Willie mapped it out, you see the possibility there. 8 p.m. game, Wells Fargo, should be a loud building. UConn's going to travel well.
The game's at 8 p.m.?
Yeah.
8 p.m.
Oh, yeah. God, we're by 16.
It's going to be a big test to the dry January.
Last year's game was at like 8 p.m. too.
Yeah. It'll be a big test to the dry January.
Fucking Hawkins came in and absolutely obliterated us.
Yeah, that was the old profile picture for me. That the reaction to that.
I'm actually less confident now that I know it's at 8 p.m. Like I've lost.
Is there any chance we can play at 11:30?
Yeah, 11:30. I'm betting my life savings on it.
Yeah, in the morning. Yeah. But it's.
8 p.m. Certain players got to get out to the bar after the game.
Yeah. We'll see him on the bull at Xfinity after the win. So,
Won't say a word. Won't say a word.
yep.
I think it's going to matter what I need to see the Creighton game happen first. Like they play Creighton tomorrow.
Yeah.
If they beat Creighton at home, then I feel better about a win. If
Yeah,
they
and
lose to
I think
Creighton,
they will. It's their $2 beer night, I think, and they hate Creighton like everybody else does. So
Where are they
they
playing
do
them?
hate Creighton. They hate Creighton.
Where are they playing them? XL or Gamble?
Gamble, I think.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Gamble.
It's Jover.
We come by 37.
But I don't know. Any other final thoughts on UConn?
I am 65% serious about what I've said.
I'm 100% serious. So it's yeah. Well,
fuck it, we ball.
Exactly. I'll tweet the graphic, but we've been throwing around in the group chat this it's so over, we're so back, type of graphic in the group chat. We'll tweet that out for the game. But it's definitely in that territory.
We should tweet that before every game. Just like, where do we feel we are? We are in fucking
we're plotted every game.
Every game where we think we're at.
Yeah, I'll add it on to the good morning tweet. Oh, also, this is where we are on the We Ball graph this morning.
I'm on the. It is what it is.
Yeah. So,
but I do think we win. I think we win. I think we sneak out like a 2-3 point win.
I just want to have fun. Yeah, I just want to have fun. Don't make me sad again. Can't do 2 weeks in a row. Before we wrap things up tonight, Willie and I, when we thought we were going to have free reign over the pod today, because Chris might not have been jumping on, came up with a new segment. This new segment is our random Wildcat of the week. We were talking about how there's that meme format where it's like, instead of therapy, men will just name old sports players. So instead of therapy, Willie and I were just going to name old Villanova Wildcats. I think we'll see how this goes, but I think we're probably going to turn this into a weekly occurrence, just focusing on one guy, what he did for the Cats, what he did after, what he's up to now, sort of thing. Just kind of shooting out of the hip, seeing what we can remember and what we can look up as we talk. And this week we landed on James Bell as our random Wildcat of the week. So
James Bell, the most popular player to ever come out of Montverde Academy.
Exactly. I had no idea that's where he went to high school, as Wikipedia tells me. But Chris, he played closest to your tenure at Villanova.
He was your contemporary, right? I love that.
No,
word.
He was not.
No, he was mine.
Which tranche of your college
He was
career?
Willie's contemporary.
Yeah.
I know, but you were 2009. He got here in 2010, right? Didn't he?
He got here in 10-11. So
10-11.
Okay. 2 years after
gap.
me. Yeah.
2 year gap. So Willie, tell us about your very close personal friend, Taj Bell.
Taj Bell, what a guy. No, I mean, it was like he was so fun, and like I think as we think about like to contextualize Villanova's history of like the last 2010s, like I think we think about like everyone remembers the 2016 team, they remember 2018, they remember 2015, but like Taj was the start of that. Like I think if you asked, like I think a lot of people go back to like, oh, it was Ryan and Dio, or the first next people like it was actually Darren and Javon. Like it actually started with Taj. Like that's where it all really started. Like he deserved more than what he got during his time here. He started off like just kind of growing into it. Like he played as a freshman, didn't do much, but he was there. Sophomore year, you could start to see flashes.
The team didn't do much when he was a freshman, to be fair.
And also the team didn't do much this whole entire time period. Didn't do much as a sophomore. Junior year, like he kind of took a leap, but like not really as much as you thought he would have. And I think that's where a lot of people were putting a lot on him. And then senior year, the year that we lost to the 2013, that was UConn. Like he took a leap and he was one of the best like players in the Big East. He averaged, what was it, like 14 and 6. And I just remember, I mean, he had the shot versus Syracuse in the 2012-2013 season that got us the lead. in overtime because Arch hit the shot to get to
sent it to
overtime.
overtime. Yep.
Yeah, and then Bell hit like one of the big shots down there. He was just a big game player, strong defender, like really athletic. Like I would have loved to see him. Like if I could have added him to the Phil Booth Pascal team, I'd be so interesting. Like I think it would have just given them such a cool. I mean, he'd be great on all the teams. Let's be very clear. But he just like he was such a good player and like unsung and underrated, and just like a player that I think when we called out, I wanted to kind of be like, hey, he was like huge for us and a huge part of like the legacy being where it is of like Jay Wright development and all those different things. Like, yeah, he kind of underachieved if we really want to get into it because he was like a high school All-American, but he found his way and he really became he was all Big East player. Like I love James Bell. Really like just, and obviously like as what's important to all Villanova people or most Villanova alums, like was also just a big part of the community. Like was a person that you see on campus and was just like glad, like seemed like he was glad to be there and like was just all in on the campus.
Yeah. When I think of James Bell, I think of that Syracuse game, and then the Battle for Atlantis run. Him and obviously that's kind of like one of the places we look to what started that golden era of Villanova basketball. James Bell, Dylan Ennis, Ryan Arcidiacono, those guys had an unbelievable tournament that I'm going to say he was MVP. I think he was. But outplaying Andrew Wiggins. What happened, Willie?
First off, he outplayed Andrew Wiggins. I just remembered he was also the shot that beat St. Joe's when the Halil Kanasevich game.
Oh,
he caught fire in that game, which like brought us back there. So like actually he did it. Sorry, that was like a big reaction.
Yeah, no, Willie looked like there was somebody like that just invaded his apartment on camera for those who can't see. But yeah, when I think of James Bell, I group him, like you said, with Darren Hilliard and Javon Pinkston as those are the guys that deserved so much more. Like they were so close to reaping the benefits of what they had sowed for their careers at Villanova, and they just missed it by 1 or 2 years. But those are kind of like the founder, the beginning of that era, and just fun guys to watch. It was always he will always have outplayed future number 1 pick Andrew Wiggins in Atlantis.
He was the Battle for Atlantis MVP.
Played all over Europe. I think he's in. Wikipedia says he's in Japan right now. Poland. But
that are very similar to each other.
Well, there's Japan's on his Wikipedia somewhere. He's one of those guys that I'm sure once his international career wraps up, he will be more of a feature back in the practice facility and around campus a little bit. He's honestly one of my favorite players of those early 2010 teams.
Yeah, I mean, he's like, for professional career, it's been like what 10 years and he's still playing.
Yeah, he's still playing.
Like, yeah. So like a little less than 10 years, but like I think this is year 10. Yeah,
he's on track to run into Scotty Reynolds at some point.
The paths will cross.
Yeah.
So back when I was in school, it was back in the day, back in NAM.
Tell me about the war, Chris.
Back when I was in school, it was like Villanova was guard you, right? Like it became the thing with the Lowry, Foy, A-Ray, Nardi, Corey Fisher, Stokes, etc. That whole
Scotty.
Yes, of course. Scotty, like that whole group, it became guard, like Villanova started to become known as guard U, right? And then interestingly enough, though, like when I think about like what made Villanova great during its final 4 years was the play at the wing position. Obviously the bigs like made a difference in terms of taking us to the next level in terms of winning national championships with that. But like the wing, like I always said, like Villanova is called guard you, but it's quietly wing you.
We have like 4 Julius Erving Award winners in the last 10
Yeah.
years or something like that, which is the best small forward in college basketball.
And Bell was kind of like the transition piece that kind of from the first era of Villanova basketball, where that era, like Dwayne Anderson and Shane Clark and that group of guys, Reggie Redding was more of a guard, but like that group of guys kind of carried like that wing position for a while and got us to a Final Four there. Then there was like a little dark period, and then James Bell was part of what came out of that, and he was like the first in the line of just like absolute elite play on the wing. Like James Bell was Darren Hilliard before Darren Hilliard was Darren Hilliard. James Bell was Josh Hart before Josh Hart was Josh Hart. James Bell was Mikal Bridges before Mikal Bridges was Mikal Bridges. Like he was the start. He was like the tone setter for that whole run of players at that position. Like even guys like a Jermaine Samuels, like all those guys were like in the model of what James Bell set the model to be back in that 2013, 2014 time period.
Yep.
And just for argument's sake, just to like check myself on this while you guys were talking, I pulled up the Ken Pom comparable players, and literally his most comparable player is Darren Hilliard in 2015. And then 5 down from that is Mikal Bridges in 2018. So like, it's odd to have 2 Villanova guys in this, like other Villanova guys in like the comps area. But just to show you how much he set the tone of how like the whole program played through that 3, the 3 position from like there on out. Like he was just terrific in that role. I give him a lot of credit because much is made of the Arch and Oshefu class, and to a slightly lesser extent, the Hilliard and Pinkston class, of how those guys turned around the program. But James Bell actually had to live through the utter fucking shit show that happened from 2010 to 2011, 2011 to 2012, and then the beginning of 2012, 2013 to kind of bring that program back. Like he was there, he went through it. It would have been much easier for him to quit. Right. Like, and many guys did. Many guys left. Right. Like, so like he didn't, he stuck it out and he really went through it like really bad. Yep. And so for him to take that leadership role and push the program back into the limelight was, after not really having had a base to do it, that was awesome. He was, he was absolutely spectacular in that 2014 season.
If the Julius Erving Award existed then, it only was created the next year. Oh, bye, Trevor. If the award existed then, it would have been. He would have been a finalist for it. Let me pull Trevor back in because he has the internet of a 19 pro.
I thought Chris froze and then I stopped and then it started buffering and I hit refresh, but before it reloaded, it started going again. So I did all that for nothing. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he was. I mean, yeah. If that award existed before then, he probably would have been a finalist for it, if not won it. I can't remember who else was a candidate then. But regardless, like, he deserves his flowers, and I'm glad we're giving him it. Like, I'm glad we're doing this because like talking about some players from the past who just like did not get their flowers. I think it's going to be like it's good. It's good to hear.
He had metal rods inserted to his legs his freshman year because of a stress fracture in his tibia.
Okay, in the back of my head, I was like, wasn't he injured? But like he played enough that I never really thought about it. But yeah,
he only missed. I guess that surgery was probably over the summer because he missed the first 5 games of his freshman year. But you get metal rods inserted into your legs and only miss 5 games. I dare you.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is. He is very important to where we are now and what was built in the second half of Jay Wright's tenure at Villanova. 1,000-point scorer. Just a stud. Was leader on the team that won the first Big East championship of the new Big East. Am I making that up? I think I'm right.
Nope, you made that up.
Made that up.
We didn't win that.
Well, we won the Big East regular
season.
Not regular,
Yeah.
Sterling.
I was going to say that team.
Yeah.
No.
Sterling Gibbs broke my heart while I was in St. Mary's. I remember this.
No. As we all know, the Big East regular season is harder to win than a national championship, so he will always have that. And first of the Bahamas dynasty that Villanova is. So, shout out to James Bell.
Yeah.
Speaking of Seton Hall, by the way,
I know they're up like 40 on St. John's right now.
Wait, really? I haven't been
murder town.
They went on a 28-0 run.
The Big East is so good in the middle.
Big East is
so
ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's not the middle anymore. That's the top, unfortunately.
Sure. I guess you're damn right. I'm sorry.
Dude,
as we transition out of this segment,
yeah. Oh, he froze again.
I froze again. I'm back. All right. You don't need therapy. You just have to talk about a random Villanova player every week. So that is your random Villanova player of the week.
Love that. Yeah, Seton Hall's up 60-38.
28?
38. 60-38. 60-38. It's crazy. It's actually crazy because, like, I remember in the beginning of the season at Big East Media Day. Sorry, I'm like just stuck on this for a second. At Big East Media Day, Shaheen Holloway was like, "I think I have the best backcourt in the Big East," but the question is what happens between the years, right? Like, and he was like, but on paper, I think I have the best backcourt in the conference. And everyone was like, "You fucking silly motherfucker! Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Seton Hall is going to be like 8th in the conference at best. Like, what do you mean?"
The only thing that I will say is Pitino is not coaching this game.
Pitino's not coaching this game, but Seton Hall is just beating the fucking brakes off of them. Holy shit.
That's what happens when you hire an old man. Sometimes he has old man stuff happen. So part of the team.
Yeah.
All right.
Geez.
I think
that's it.
We're good.
We're close.
We're back after the UConn game, right?
Yeah. You'll catch me live. I'm going to be on Spaces because we're going to win, and I'm going to be screaming. No, that's not what's going to happen.
No, you can, by all means, feel free to do that.
I'm going to start a space on my personal account, and it's just going to be like no one in there. It's going to be like, who is he talking to?
In an ideal world, I will be driving back from the game. So,
in an ideal world, Chris will decide not to drive home after the game and be hanging out with Brian and me in Xfinity.
We can potentially arrange that. It depends. All right.
It.
Oh, don't fucking storm the court if we win.
Oh, yeah. For the love of God.
We're a big boy school. We've won national championships. We were in a Final Four 2 years ago. Storming the court is for mid-majors.
I have a different reasoning, but I'm not going to argue it here.
Yeah.
All right. Catch you later.
Peace. As always.